Back here on 104.5 The Zone, we're very happy to be joined by Jordan Reid of ESPN. He's one of their great draft experts. It is one of the busiest times of the year, so we'll keep it tight with our guy. I appreciate you taking some time, first and foremost. Thanks for joining the show. Before we talk about the Titans, I always think it's a fun exercise to ask draft analysts who the toughest prospect for them to scout in any given draft has been. Has there been one that you've just been mulling over, going back and forth, overthinking throughout the course of this particular class at any particular position?
Oh man, that's a great question. Just because there's so many.
Sure.
Trying to think of one that immediately comes to mind. Probably J.C. Latham of Alabama is one I've went back and forth about just because a lot of inconsistency throughout his tape. Just because of, he's such a massive dude, 6'5", 340 pounds. You want him to overwhelm guys more consistently. Then also there's some times of where you wish the pass protection was a little bit better, especially he gets beat a lot with inside moves. So you want him to get better with that over time, and it just didn't happen. But there's other games like against Georgia in the SEC title game of where he just played the entire game pissed off. And you're like, man, if this could be the guy that I see consistently every single game, there's no telling what his ceiling could be on the next level. So he still ended up being a top 20 player for me, but you just wish at times he continued to play pissed off throughout games. So J.C. Latham is one that definitely I went back and forth with a lot.
He's just so strong. You see him get crossed up every once in a while with his footwork, and I know, he played right tackle at Alabama. Obviously, there's been some discussion about potentially is he capable of playing left. Is that maybe the spot where you've gone back and forth, or do you view him as one particular tackle over the other?
I think he's strictly a right tackle, just because I don't know if he has the foot quickness and the suddenness to go over to the left side. And I'm always big on keeping offensive linemen where they've had success at, just because it's different learning the postures and the mannerisms and trying to be developed at a completely different position, in my opinion, just because you have to learn everything in reverse. So he spent all his time at right tackle, but if you transition him over to the left side, the muscle memory and everything associated with that is completely different. So I would say he's strictly a right tackle only.
Jordan Reid of ESPN is here with us on 104.5 The Zone, talking a little bit of draft. You can follow him at Jordan_Reid. Is there a more obvious pick in this upcoming draft for you than the Tennessee Titans and Joe Alt at left tackle? I would imagine only the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams is the easier one to predict.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like if you took a poll of the consensus pick in every mock draft, I think that would be the one that's right behind Caleb Williams with the Bears, with Joe Alt going to the Tennessee Titans, just because it makes so much sense. They have a huge need at left tackle, and ever since Taylor Lewan, since his glory days, it's really been a game of musical chairs at left tackle for the Titans, it seems like. So just getting that position solidified, Joe Alt definitely would bring that to the forefront. And, I had an opportunity to see Joe Alt in the fall this year. So during the fall, I'm traveling around games all over the country, seeing players. I seen him play against NC State. There wasn't a more impressive person as far as like in their uniform than Joe Alt. I mean, he's every bit of 6'9", 320 pounds. He just looks the part of the position of a franchise left tackle.
With that being said, it is such a steep drop off, it feels like, where we talk about there are some tackles in this draft that you can work with. There is a fair amount of depth. I don't want to say that the talent runs deep throughout the course of this draft the way that the wide receiver talent does. But there does seem to be such a definitive drop off once you stop talking about the top tackles. And I think that's what Titans fans fear the most, that maybe the Chargers get a wild hair, do the most Jim Harbaugh thing in the world, which is just to draft the overwhelming offensive lineman. And whether that's at 5, whether they trade back, we'll see. But how big is the talent disparity to you from Joe Alt? And I don't know if you consider him to be the best overall tackle prospect as far as your draft boards goes. How big is the drop off between Alt and maybe we're talking about Amarius Mims, where maybe we're talking about Fashanu on down the line?
It's not significant at all. I think what really propels Joe Alt to the top is that you know what you're getting right away from him. I think he's the most pro ready of the bunch, just because the strength is already there, the technique is already there, and we know he's athletic for his size too. With the other guys, you're doing more so of projecting, and you're hoping and wishing that they eventually turn into the type of player that Alt already is. So if we had a game tomorrow, let's say the Titans were playing the Colts tomorrow, I would feel the most comfortable about Joe Alt going out there and protecting Will Levis as opposed to any other offensive tackle in this draft class. Now, if we're talking about stacking the talent, I think there's a bit of a drop off after about the fourth round when we're talking about guys that can come in and contribute right away. But as far as the talent at the top of the draft, I don't think there's a huge discrepancy or drop off at all. It's just a matter of which player do you feel as if is more pro ready right now, and that's why I have Alt at the top.
There is a pretty big discrepancy after Brock Bowers, right, when it comes to the tight end position. And you ranked him number 8 in your top 400 prospects ahead of the draft. Obviously not meaning you're mocking him number 8, but just in terms of overall prospects, how pro-ready is Brock Bowers right now? And at what point is there a threshold where you will be shocked if we get to pick number X and Brock Bowers' name has not been called?
So I'll just answer the second question first. If we get to about 15, which is the Indianapolis Colts, I would be surprised if he doesn't go there. Then you worry about what are we missing as far as if he drops further than that, especially if we get into the Bengals at 18. I'm not saying he's going to go that far, but once we get past like the Colts at 15, I think that's where things get really interesting with him. But he definitely is a unique type of prospect, and he's a little bit different than some of the tight ends that we have seen in years past. Just talking about a skill set, he's not as big as Kyle Pitts, and he's not as good of a blocker as we have seen like a TJ Hockenson that went in the top 10 many years ago. But with him, he's just strictly a big receiver, in my opinion. You don't want to use him as an inline blocker. He's not going to be George Kittle mashing guys' faces in the ground in the run game. That's just not his game. He can give you some of that. He's not going to give you that type of value as a blocker, but where you're going to get the most from him is as a pass catcher. Split him out wide, use him in the slot. You can even put him in the backfield. He's taking reverses and jet sweeps to the house while he was during his time at Georgia. So where you're going to get the most value from Brock Bowers is what I like to call an F tight end. So use him hip to hip, put him in the backfield. You can put him in the slot. You can put him out wide to create different types of mismatches. But if you're expecting him to be this dual threat guy that's going to give you value in the run game, then also in the passing game, you're going to be disappointed. But if you strictly use him as a mismatch weapon, as a big receiver, now you're going to reap the benefits of Brock Bowers.
The dapper dressed gentleman here with us on 104.5 The Zone is Jordan Reid of ESPN. He's breaking it down for us. Look like you got some style points for my guy TD a little bit. Or I don't know. Maybe you got it yourself. Maybe you giving TD some pointers every once in a while. I don't know.
A little bit. TD's my guy.
No doubt about it. One of the best in the business for sure. As the Titans look to fortify themselves, not just in the offensive trenches, but on defense as well, Jeff Simmons and Harold Landry could use some significant help. I'm looking for somebody to replace Danico Autry. I don't know how easy that's going to be. I don't think it's going to be very easy at all, but I keep coming back to Darius Robinson out of Missouri, potentially in the second round, as a player who displays that positional versatility, Jordan, to be able to play both inside and out, depending on what kind of formation you're running.
Yeah, I mean, edge rusher is a big need for Tennessee right now. I think that second round is really the spot that they could target somebody in Darius Robinson. I don't know if he's going to be there in the second round, just because I would be surprised if he got outside of those top 35 or so picks, just because he's one player that was seen as more so as a late day 2 guy coming into the season. But now you look at him at the Senior Bowl, you saw how he performed at the Combine. His stock has only increased since those moments. And you talk about somebody that can play in the NFL from day one. He is one guy that can play right away. You talk about the body frame, how strong he is, the versatility that he has. He just checks so many boxes. But if he is there for Tennessee, I think he'll be a home run pick for him in the second round.
Last one for you, and we appreciate you spending some time. Check him out on SportsCenter, of course, on ESPN.com, where you can read all the work that he's doing on the draft, Jordan_Reid. Will Levis here is a big question mark. I know talking to a lot of people at the Combine, there was more of we'll wait and see type of vibes. Titans fans are really excited about him, understandably so. He's a very talented player, but we got to see him put it together on a more consistent level. Is he, based on your evaluation of him coming out of Kentucky, is he kind of what you thought he might be, or are there some areas of his game that might have surprised you at the pro level based on the 9-game sample size, or where you want to see him still clean it up a little bit more?
I always thought Will was very talented. It was just the consistency with him. That was something that was always worrisome. And then just the turnover-worthy plays. That was the big thing that hurt him during his final season at Kentucky. And while he had a lot of wow moments, he also had a lot of head-scratcher moments. And I think that's something that he does need to clean up as far as what he needs to be, as far as being consistent as a starter on the next level. And you guys saw it. I mean, the talent is easy to see. He has a rocket arm. He's very mobile. Needs to do a better job of protecting himself. I still think he needs to do better in that aspect just because he's such a competitive guy. He's very fiery. He just takes a lot of unnecessary hits. So once he learns to slide, and then also once he learns to protect himself a little better, I think the game is going to come to him much more naturally. Now, with him, the accuracy is something that still needs to improve as well. And Will was never, I wouldn't say he's a natural thrower, but there is a little bit of stiffness to his game. I want to see him work out some of that stiffness to his game as well. He was never one of those guys that's like a smooth and easy and fluid thrower. So just working out some of the stiffness and then also just understanding how to protect himself a little more. I think those are the things that he can help take his game to the next level.
Jordan, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate you spending some here with us, and happy draft season to you. I know we're less than a week away as we're getting ready to see what happens, not just in Tennessee, but all over the board. I know you guys are probably ready to just get to the draft at this point as well.
Yeah, like a kid waiting on Christmas Day. It's taking forever to get here, but I'm excited.
No question. Jordan Reid there with us on 104.5 The Zone.